Welcome to Really Old Movies. I'm your host, Harrison Scullin, and today I'll be discussing The Front Page from 1931. Some essential movie details. This movie was remade as a screwball comedy, His Girl Friday, starring Cary Grant. Another essential detail. Continuing a practice common to the silent era, this film was shot with 3 cameras at the same time. This created 3 different negatives. The best negative was used for the US, the second for the UK, and the final was used for the general international version. Additionally, some scenes were reshot with different dialogue for the international markets. And all of this comes from the film's IMDb page. Alright, so now I'm getting to my thoughts on the film. The plot, I give it a 3 out of 5. I thought it was just okay. I wasn't a fan of the idea of the movie basically taking place in this one office. Felt very much like a stage play, and the story itself is based off of a stage play. But I just don't like the constraints of it. Now, there are examples of films that do this that were fine. Like I loved Arsenic and Old Lace, for example. I've heard that 12 Angry Men, that's another good example, and Rope, that they're great examples of being in one set. But to me, this one felt very cheap because the stage itself was not very interesting. It was kind of a plain, boring background. And I just didn't like that idea. I didn't like that we were just there the whole time. I didn't care for any of the characters, so I didn't really care about the plot itself. You know, the lead character, Hildy, very unlikable. So are many of his friends around him. Even his love interest I found to be annoying. Like all around, there was nothing interesting in this plot that I really liked. So I didn't really care about how it was going to be resolved. Now, it's still an okay plot. Like, it's kind of fun following along, trying to figure out who the murderer was, right? But other than that, it's really not that good, and it's just an okay movie. So those are my thoughts on the plot. Now let's get into the acting. Same thing, give it a 3 out of 5. It was just fine, but again, no one to really root for. I felt like all the actors were kind of the same, even the quote-unquote bad guy ones. There was no one I could really resonate with. Everybody felt, I don't know, I didn't like it. The main character, again, he was a despicable character, so I didn't really root for him or anything. I didn't really want him to go to New York with his girlfriend. In fact, I wanted her to get away from him. He seemed terrible. So, yeah, I don't like any of the actors in it. Nothing really redeeming about that. No one to really invest in. All right, in regards to the directing, I give that a 2 out of 5. I'm not sure if this is his fault or not, but I hate how restrained the film is. It could work, and like I mentioned, Rope and all those, but this time around it didn't work for me. It has a boring background for the majority of the film. The dialogue is it's interesting, kind of clever dialogue, but what does it all lead to? It doesn't really lead to anything. I felt like it was a waste of time, honestly, and like I said, I don't know if we could really attribute that to the director or the studio or the stage adaptation. I haven't read the play, so I don't know. But yeah, I just did not like it. It was terrible. All right, in regards to cinematography and special effects, I gave that a 2.5 out of 5. Again, boring and bland. Same scenes over and over. Not very creative. I don't know. I was just kind of bored. I really was, and was not impressed with it. Right now, in regards to the music, I give that a 1 out of 5. Again, barely any in it. This movie needed it. It was so quiet and boring, and it's pretty silent. In fact, this movie came out around the end of the silent era, so I imagine most theaters showed it as a silent film. Just to me, it did not work. And I just don't get why people love this movie or the remake, His Girl Friday. I think His Girl Friday, I like the comedy aspect and I like Cary Grant, but again, it's the same silly story of a reporter who's, trying to leave, but the boss convinces them to stay, and then they get locked up in this newsroom where all the phones are. I don't care. Like, I don't care about this story. So anyways, tallying that all up, that brings my Letterboxd score to a 2.3 out of 5, which I'm rounding to a 2 out of 5. So if you can't tell already, no, I will not be recommending this movie. I do not like the lead actor, the story, And again, I watched the remake. I didn't like that movie really either. This one I liked even less, actually. Um, there are great movies, like I mentioned, that have one scene or it's just all dialogue, like Casablanca. But to me, this one just does not land well, does not work. And maybe it's because I'm not used to that era. I don't know. But I've watched other movies from the 30s, like I love Dodsworth, which came out a couple years later. So, and King Kong, but I don't know. I did not enjoy this movie at all. I thought it was really, really bad. And I really don't recommend it. I can't recommend it. All right. Well, those are my thoughts on The Front Page from 1931. Thank you all so much for listening to today's episode. Make sure to follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Really Old Movies, where I discuss details about the week's particular film. New podcast episodes are released Saturdays at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. All right, thank you so much. This has been Really Old Movies. I'm your host, Harrison Scullin. Take care.